Welcome. This is the Ag Engineering Podcast, where we talk tools, tips, and techniques to improve the sustainability of your farm. I am your host, Andy Chamberlain from the University of Vermont Extension, and this podcast is supported by Northeast SARE, providing grants and education to advance innovation in sustainable agriculture. We're trying to improve the industry by chatting with farmers and getting their input on tools, tips, or techniques that have changed the way they farm for good. Many of these practices affect multiple areas of the farm. Whether it be environmentally, emotionally, physically, or financially, we share the knowledge to promote sustainable agriculture, lifestyle, and business. Thanks for having a listen. Now, let's get started. Today's episode comes to you from Brookfield, Vermont, where we're interviewing Kyle Doda and Betsy Simpson of 1000 Stone Farm. Kyle has been farming for 6 years, and now he has 3 acres in vegetable production and an acre in high tunnels. They sell to their own farm store, wholesale, CSA, restaurants, and even year-round farmers markets. And they're bringing in between $200,000 and $300,000 in gross sales. Kyle and Betsy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Andy, for having us.
Thanks.
So I just framed the stage a little bit about your farm, but how would you describe yourself in one sentence?
We're a small, certified organic vegetable farm, which also focuses on mushrooms, fruit, and egg production.
This episode, we wanted to talk about how you manage your chickens and some practices that you've implemented to make that a sustainable practice on your farm. I first learned about this because you told me you had an automated chicken door. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we started off this season with 50 laying hens, and they were in the field, and part of the whole goal of getting laying hens was to start improving our fertility program. So moving them throughout our fields as we were done was part of that. However, getting up at 5 or 6 in the morning to let them out every morning was becoming a thing, especially when you need to walk 1,000 feet or more, all the way down the field and then back up in the rain, in the whatever weather you might be in. So we started to look into what was available for solar-powered automatic door openers, and we found from Premier One Supplies a poultry door with a solar kit. It was right around $350, and really was life-changing for us and the birds. So, one of the main things for them is that instead of when, the farmer comes out and opens the door, all the chickens just rush out because they're probably waiting. Where when the door opens automatically, they come out as they would like to, one by one, maybe even 2 at a time, whatever it may be. So there's definitely a healthier, more natural morning for them, as well as they get used to the sound of the door. So therefore, they're kind of,
They're ready to go.
Yeah, they're ready to go,
They're like, oh, it's opening.
It's definitely a lot healthier for us. It allows for us to go out to dinner when the door needs to close at 5 o'clock or close at 8 o'clock and we're not home yet. And that also protects them so that we're not late. So it gives us the ability to have a life outside of farming while also taking care of our animals. And
were you getting up that early in the morning anyways, so it really wasn't a burden to go out in the morning, or was that a major pain? So during the summer, employees get here at 7:30 or 7, depending. So we were usually up. What?
They get here at 8. All year, they
That's
get
true.
here at 8.
Yeah,
That's wrong. They get here at 8 in the morning.
yeah, we did. Okay, yeah.
I get up and let the chickens out.
Oh, okay.
I'm a morning person.
Yeah. So to answer your question, we were awake usually. It would depend on the time of year, but for the most part, it's another thing to do in the morning besides making breakfast or getting your game plan together for the day or whatever that is. So I think it just freed us up for some more time, which is great. Some of the things with the solar is that it is ideal that it's south facing. So like orientating your mobile coop, which is, we used a hay wagon and then built a coop on top of that. Just orientating that so it's south whichever side you put the solar panel on. Obviously, you could move it if you wanted to a point, but not.
Is the solar panel connected to the door?
It is directly connected. It goes from the solar panel to a battery pack, and then from the battery pack to the door. You can also run it without solar on AC, but then it's not mobile.
Have you made any modifications to it, or was it rather simple plug and play?
It was rather simple plug and play. Basically, it fits the standard chicken door size, which is like, gosh, I want to say 12 by 8 or something like that. I'm not exactly sure,
like
but
12 by 8 or 12 by 9, I think.
there is a size for a chicken door.
There's a chicken door
that
size.
I just can't remember. Anyways, but yeah, no, basically you just bolt it onto the front where the door is with the flush, and then you're good to go. It's very straightforward.
Nice. And you said it was like $350. Was
Yep.
that, did you buy that all as one unit, or was the solar panel separate from the door? Like, is it cheaper if you have AC power?
It would be $98 cheaper. So just the door itself is $260, and then $98 for the solar kit.
Okay, so if it is on a fixed, say, barn, and not a mobile coop, then you could save a little bit of money there.
Absolutely.
But being solar has been
Yeah.
awesome because now you have a mobile coop way out in the field, and like you said, you were rotating this around your fields. That was the reason, not just for eggs.
Right. The whole goal was to be able to have healthy egg production as well as increasing soil fertility using pastured chickens.
So solar powered, how reliable is it? Is there mornings that it doesn't open?
Actually, we haven't had any issues so far as it being reliable. It is programmable in two different ways. One can be programming it to a specific time, or the other is programming it with GPS coordinates, and then it registers that and knows when the sunset and sunrise is and changes daily to that. But you can also add in a couple extra features. You can do second chance, which is basically like the door will close, let's say at 5 o'clock, but then in 5 minutes it'll reopen for another 10 minutes, which is really nice as the chickens get used to the automatic door so that they go in, and then they start to learn, and then everybody basically is in every single night. Sometimes we have found some out
When they were
occasionally.
first getting used to it,
Yeah.
there is definitely some like, girls, you forgot to go inside.
How long of a learning curve was it?
Oh, maybe, well, a couple of days really to get most of them, and then there would be like 1 or 2 chickens that we would have to throw in. But for the most part,
I would say
like,
at the most 2 weeks, if
yeah,
that.
I mean, and they were used to going in. You had the birds before this door, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
they were already used to going in at night,
Yep.
and so it wasn't much more for them to get used to.
No, not at all. And the nice thing too is that you can offset the programming. So you can say it's supposed to open at 5 and close at 5. Then you could set it to open at 4:45 and close at 5:15, or whatever you thought was a little better for the chickens. And it does also really help with predators as well. And that's kind of a big thing too with pastured poultry, is protecting your investment, and also, your hens. I mean, that's basically your investment. So, there's a couple other things we've used to help do that.
Yeah, what are some of those other methods to eliminate pest pressure?
One thing that we've done is got the taller netting, the electric fence netting, that is 4 feet tall instead of 3. Also, the posts are closer together. They're 6 feet 8 inches apart instead of, I think, almost like 10.
yeah, the shorter ones are 10 feet apart.
So there's a lot of
more
sagging that
poles.
occurs as well. And another thing is a product called Night Guard, which is basically a little red LED light that comes on at night, kind of the same concept. When the sun goes down, it comes on, and it's solar powered. There's no batteries. And basically it just flashes all night. And we put them at different levels around the coop and different heights. We also use them, actually, on a total side note, but for vegetable production to keep deer out. So for deer, you put it at 4 feet tall, or whatever, 3 feet tall. Basically, you want it at eye level for the pest, the predator you're worried about. And so
you have this one of these
Yep.
right here that I'm looking at. We've got one on the table, and it's just a little box, maybe 2-inch square and maybe 1.5 inch deep, and it's just a little plastic box with 2 LEDs on the front and a little solar panel on the top, and it self-charges.
correct.
And it just like, how fast does it blink?
It blinks pretty fast. I would say, like,
More like a strobe rather than a flashing light.
yeah, maybe. But basically, it's just something that changes, and that's enough for a deterrent. Now, if you keep them in the same spot all the time, predators will get used to that, and then it will not be as effective.
I've never seen one of these before. Are they very expensive?
They are not. I think a 4-pack was like $40, $35.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah. So far, so good. I mean, this is the first year we've had chickens on our farm here, so I think there's a grace period. However, I do think that some of these simple techniques will help throughout the period of time. And moving chickens also, I believe, helps personally. Just because then your predators don't get used to the same location. It's different.
Yeah, that's true. Is this your first year using these little blinker boxes?
It is our first year.
And so far, so good. They've been reliable as well, right?
So far, so good. Yeah.
I like it. And like you said, I mean, for veg production, whatever, you could put them on a stake and just stick them around your garden, around the perimeter, around the inside, outside, whatever. And,
The suggestion with vegetable production is also to move them. So, they say every 3 to 5 days. I don't know if we ever did that, but probably like once every 2 weeks. And, in some cases, I felt like it worked. In some cases, we felt like we didn't move it enough or we didn't have enough in the field, And depending on the time of year, I mean, in the fall, deer really want those carrot tops. Certain things are just not going to change. But
Yeah, but we had it in like our lettuce field in the same spot for a long time. And the deer love the lettuce around here. Like, they're always getting into the middle of the field and taking all the tops of the heads. And there wasn't any deer pressure in that field with that.
it worked really
just with the lights.
Yeah,
It
it was
worked
a
really
stake
well with
with
the
a
lettuce.
light on it.
And just to put this into context, we have a 1-acre market garden at the home farm that is surrounded by woods. Actually, it's surrounded by like 400 acres of woods. Just to throw that out.
So how come you haven't fenced your whole property?
That's expensive.
Right. So fencing would
Cost.
be quite expensive. Also, just in general, I personally believe that the animals have more of a right to be here than I do. So I would prefer to try to come up with techniques that allows them to still roam freely.
Yep.
This was their land first.
And now you're just giving them a salad buffet,
Yes.
salad bar. This way, they're still welcome. They're just might be a little uncomfortable with the lights, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Is there a big cost difference between the fencing that you use on the chickens? You mentioned a wide and shorter fence versus the closer together posts and taller.
The starter kit for the poultry netting plus from Premier One is with the electric solar panel.
The
So
solar fencer.
the solar fencer, so it's actually energizing the fence, is $460, which is a significant investment, and that's for 100 feet long. So, just the fencing alone, I think is 167 per 100-foot strain. So really, you only need, I don't remember how many solar kits you need for how much fencing, but
Getting the fencer originally is expensive, but
it lasts a
we
long
have
time.
like 5 strands of the tall stuff now. It's not worth buying the shorter stuff, in my opinion. Like, no matter what, your chickens want to fly over it. And it makes it a lot easier for other predators to just, go in because they're hopping over it. It's sagging so much between the poles that are, further apart. Like, we did have one strand of the short stuff, and that was, we were nope, we're done. It's not worth it.
Right, because you're trying to keep predators out as addition to keeping the birds in.
Yeah.
One thing about the poultry netting also is I recommend it. Let's say you need 200 feet length for one coop. You're going to want 400 feet because when you want to move your coop, you want to already have the next fencing set up. And so that is really, really helpful. Otherwise, you're trying to do it while they're still inside in the dead of the morning. It's just not as easy. Like it's way easier to get up early in the morning, go move the coop to the new spot, and open the door.
It's worth the extra $200 to have the extra fence, so you're not stressing in the morning and scrambling around and tripping over yourself.
I mean, at the end of the day, everything is going to cost some amount of money or time. So you can pick one and which direction you want to go. But I think it's a lot easier to keep it simpler because we have a lot of things that are not simple to deal with.
Are there any things that you do now that it's wintertime differently than in the summertime? How do you manage your chickens in the winter?
Absolutely. In the summer, we have 5-gallon buckets with nipples on the bottom for the chickens that they have access inside and outside. But during the winter with freezing temps, we've found a heated poultry water that's a 3-gallon. It's $54, and the major thing for us is that it goes as low as negative 20. A lot of them that you find only go down to 10 degrees, which here in Vermont is basically useless for the winter. The only thing that I can find is that because it's 3 gallons for 75 birds, ideally having 2 or 3 of them would be ideal, or like 1 per 25 birds, let's say. It really depends on how often you want to refill. The only other downside I found is the water doesn't freeze inside, however, the lid freezes shut. But it wasn't that bad to get off. So that's the only thing that I found that I didn't like about them.
So that would be a benefit to at least have a second one so you can bring it in and rotate, warm it up, clean it up.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
And you can use them during the summer as well. You can just unplug the electrical and just use them during the summer. They are an AC powered heater, so you couldn't do it if you were without some sort of power.
Right. That's one thing to note, that your chickens are kind of hunkered down for winter. They're not bouncing around the field. You're not out there dragging the mobile coop to different locations.
Correct.
Now, the water bucket, did you get that from Premier One as well, or not?
We did get that from Premier One as well. And there is one other issue that we have in winter is freezing eggs. And so one technique that I've been working with so far this winter is using what is pipe heat tape to keep them above freezing in the morning as they're laying. And so we have roll-out nesting boxes where the eggs are protected by like a plastic sheet as they roll out. And right underneath that plastic sheet is where the heat tape is, which it really only runs when it's cold enough. So you're not spending excess money just running it all the time. And it doesn't get crazy hot, but we do not have any frozen eggs so far.
That's great. Now, did it have the plastic covering over it, or is that a modification you did?
The plastic covering comes with the rollout nesting boxes.
Okay, cool.
So it keeps the eggs cleaner. So because there is a roost there that they can also roost on, so it just makes it so that the manure is not going straight onto the eggs.
Nice. So I take it that's probably sped up your cleaning time. Did you have that rollout box from the beginning or no?
Yes, we did.
One other thing with the rollout box, which is from Stromberg's, is also I recommend everyone gets 10 extra pads. They're the inserts that go in the nests. Instead of using straw or hay, they're plastic inserts that are cleanable. So if you have 10 of them, there's 10 nesting boxes. You just pull out the ones that are soiled and then put in new ones, and then you can clean the ones that are soiled without disturbing the chickens, and they can keep laying and doing their thing.
When you were ordering the fence and fence controller and stuff like that from Premier One, now I know they have a big catalog, and I've seen them at trade shows, and they have a website. Can you order right off their website, or do you have to call? How do you shop from them?
Straight off their website is the easiest way to do it. It's how I've always done it. So.
Straightforward, easy enough. Good. I haven't been on their website, so I didn't know. So this was your first year with chickens on the farm, right? How is it going? Is it serving your fertility needs? Because that's the main reason you got them.
Yeah. So this is the first year that we've had chickens on the farm, and the main goal was that we wanted to be able to start producing our own manure on farm. However, I didn't want to spread it myself. because it takes more time and money. So having the ability to move chickens through our fields in the fall as we're finished was our goal. Currently, this year we only got through probably, a quarter of our fields, which is why this season, I should say, we're running 2 coops with 75 birds each. That way, during the fall, we can move them simultaneously through the fields. So as an example, they started in the asparagus field and then moved to garlic and the rest of the alliums, and then slowly to the other fields as we move through them. But before we can actually get them into a field, they are, this coming year, going to be foraging on cover crop and rested soil. So because we have 6 to 7 acres tillable, the other 3 acres or 2.5, depending on how it goes, will be cover cropped with our chickens grazing.
So yeah, you're doing it again. You're doubling it up.
Yeah.
Do you have a market for that many eggs in this location?
Yeah, absolutely. We sell our eggs here at the farm store, and then we have an add-on for our CSA members. And then we wholesale them to Farmers to You, as well as we've had requests from other co-ops and restaurants. And then we sell them at farmers market as well.
So it doesn't seem like they've been too hard to sell.
Not at all.
Well, that's always good.
It is.
So the chickens go out into an area that's been picked through and you're done for the season. You use plastic culture to some extent. Do you put the chickens in there after you pull all that up, or you just let them go through and deal with the plastic later?
We pull the plastic first,
Yeah.
and then let them go in, which seems to work just fine. I think it would be quite a mess if we left it.
Yeah, I would think so as well. But are you giving them any other food to eat, or is the onion scraps their diet for the next period of time?
So we provide them with organic grain from Morrison Feeds, and then we also provide them with food scraps from the farm pretty much daily, depending on the time of year. So we use organic pelleted feed from Morrison's, as well as organic corn scratch, which gives them a little extra something to play with. It's like chicken crack. They love it. But
how big of an area are they in, and for how long?
So usually it's about 2 weeks, and it's about, let's say, 4,000 square feet, 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, depending on the field. But I would say average is probably around 4,000 square feet. If it's a smaller field, then we will shorten the time. But you want to see even disbursement of the poop, so to speak. So one of the concerns, or one of the thoughts I've been having, is when it's really sunny, they want shade. So the problem you run into is that they're hanging out underneath the coop.
Oh.
And ideally, I don't put the coop in the center of the field, or it's on like a work road, and then the netting is open to the rest of the field. So what I'm working on is maybe possibly a lightweight, movable, shaded structure. It does put more time and effort into my end of the deal. However, I think that in the end, 2 things happen. 1, I think we have better fertility, and 2, I feel a little more sane about sustainable farming.
And you're not just fertilizing the driveway.
Correct.
So you move them a little bit based on even distribution, as well as watching like how fast they're breaking stuff down, or do you just move them when the next bed's ready?
So one thing that you also have to keep in mind is that you cannot harvest a crop within 120 days of raw manure application, which is why that's why we don't let them graze until the field is finished for the year, because of how short our growing season is. 120 days is the entire growing season. I think that the process of understanding their habits and patterns and watching them graze is definitely something that we will improve on over the years. And I think that also, we will get a better flow with them because you're not only then matching your...
I mean, we also need our soil test. Like, we have to take soil tests in the spring of the fields that they were on and, like, seeing what kind of impact they actually had and be like, okay, they were on that field for this amount of time. Like, maybe they should be there longer. Maybe we should pull it shorter and, like, move them faster. Like, it's all things that we need to look at more in the springtime when we do the soil tests.
So that's data that you don't really have yet to know.
Yeah.
Correct. It also is based on our management plan for the following year for what crops are going into the field. So let's say we want to put carrots and beets in a field. Well, we're not going to want as much nitrogen, so maybe we only want to let them graze for a very little short period of time, or maybe not at all. Maybe it's just cover crop. So all of those little nuances play into the decision making. So, like, as an example, if we are putting them into a brassica field, we may want that nitrogen, so then we're going to let them graze longer.
Well, thanks for sharing some of your tips in ways that you have found how to make raising chickens sustainable on your farm.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kyle and Betsy, for being on the show. If people want to learn more about you and your farm, how can they follow along and get a hold of you?
They can check us out on Instagram or Facebook, Thousand Stone Farm, and they can also check out our website at thousandstonefarm.com. And email me or Betsy at Kyle or Betsy at 1000stonefarm.com.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming on the show. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you go ahead and subscribe, share this with a friend, or leave us a comment. And if you want more information, check out the show notes on our website at agengpodcast.com. That's agengpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a great day.
The proceeding has been a production of University of Vermont Extension. For more information on Extension, log on to www.uvm.edu/extension.